Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mary if you're new here. Another month has passed. Sadly, one of my favorite months of the year has passed, and so you know what that means? It's time for me to talk about all the books that I read in the month of October. So I read almost 12 books, and I'll talk about the almost near the end of the video. But I feel like October, I did a lot of book shopping, but not as much book reading as I wanted to, but I kind of also expected that. October is my birthday month. It's also the month that I have a lot of other birthdays and celebrations going on, so it was kind of a hectic month. I am happy about the books that I did read. I don't think I got any new 5 stars actually, so maybe it wasn't that great of a reading month. But without further ado, let's just talk about all of these books. I have quite a few here, and then the other ones I read as ebooks or audiobooks. So if I don't own the book, I will put a picture of it somewhere here. So the first book I read in the month of October was Saving Six by Khloe Walsh, and this is the third book in the Boys of Tommen series. So I did a video a long time ago, a couple months ago I think, about all the series that I'm in the middle of. So I've been slowly trying to chip away at these series, and so I decided to pick this one up. I forgot how much I had issues with this series. I see a lot of 5 stars and 4-star ratings for these books, and I just don't know if I'm not getting it, if I'm not the target audience, if I'm not who the books are meant for. But I gave this book 2.5 stars. I have a few things I guess I want to talk about. First, there are romances, and these books are over 500-600 pages. This book was 725 pages. That is ridiculously long for a romance, and I do think that these books are a lot heavier, and they're kind of sports romances, but they're very, very heavy, and I think I just cannot relate to these characters very well. It wasn't clicking for me. The couple in this book, though, I did really like, Joey and I'm gonna pronounce it wrong. I've looked it up so many times, and I think it's Ify, but it's spelled A-O-I-F-E. So it's like Io, Ify, I'm not sure. But they really do balance each other out well, and there were several scenes between them that I did enjoy, but I felt like the story was a lot about Joey, and you didn't really get a lot of backstory or like knowledge of why you would like Ify. And I just think it was way too long for what it is. And the series also, each couple gets 2 books. So this is the first book about them, and then it continues on to another 700-page book about them. And I don't know. I am not attached enough to these characters to want to read the next book. I'm really on the fence of picking it up and continuing this series, but I just keep reading because I see so many people like it, but I just think the series is not for me, sadly. I'm just gonna move on to the next book because I can ramble on and on about this book, but as you can see, I'm on the fence. I think a lot of people would like it, but I think there was also a demographic of people that are similar to me where we were like, what's the point of this? The next book I read was Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshi Kawaguchi, and so I gave this book 4 stars. I was on the fence of 3 and 4 stars for a while, but I think I'm gonna give it a 4-star overall. I got it as a birthday present, so I read this early on in the month. And if you don't know what this story is about or what this book is about, it is a short story collection, and the stories all are kind of in the same world, and they're all about this coffee shop where you can go and travel back in time. But when you travel back in time, there's some restrictions, one of them including that you will not be able to change the future based on what you do in the past, but you're still able to revisit the past. And you have to also revisit the past. You're only allowed to do it once, and you have to do it and finish your conversation or whatever before your coffee gets cold. So that's basically the premise of the book and the short stories. There's 4 short stories total. The lovers, husband and wife, the sisters, and mother and child. So the first 2, I enjoyed them, but it wasn't like gripping me. I wasn't like in love with the stories. They didn't affect me or make me emotional. But the last 2, oh my god. If I have the picture still, I will insert it. The picture I sent to my friend when I was finishing this book, because I was an emotional wreck. These stories affected me so much and made me think about them for so long. I have not cried like that in terms of crying about a book in so long. Sorry for the little bit of a change in the setting and quality of sound. My mic just died, but I want to finish recording this video. The last time I was talking about Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and I'm not sure how far I got into talking about this book, but we're gonna quickly do a recap. I would say I really loved the last two stories way more than the first two. The first two stories were okay, but I wasn't very attached to the characters. It was just okay for me. It was still interesting enough for me to continue reading, but I wasn't obsessed. But the last two really affected me emotionally, especially Mother and Child. That one really had me on a chokehold. I was crying after I read that one. And it just affected me, and I just loved the topics of relationships and grief that were explored through these stories. I was really fascinated, and I definitely want to see what the other books in this series are all about, because I think there's 3 or 4 books total in this series. So yeah, I think I would definitely pick them up. But overall, 4 stars, loved it. Wasn't perfect, but I really did enjoy my time with this book. The next book I read was The Boy with the Bookstore by Sarah Akavare Smith. This one I gave 2.75 stars. I love the premise of this book, where there is a bookstore owner named Max and a bakery shop owner named Joelle, and they are basically in the same building, but it's like separated by a wall. After the parts where they were pining for each other in the beginning, and then they were forced to share a space together, after that the story really fell short for me. I just didn't really enjoy their scenes together. I feel like they were fighting a lot more than they were having like loving conversations and scenes. I don't know, it just wasn't, it didn't deliver the way that I thought it would. I think I might even unhaul this book, because I don't think I'm ever going to read it again, and honestly, it is not a favorite. So that's that. The next book I read, I don't even know what to say, but it was Elsie Silver's Hopeless, which is the 5th and last book in the Chestnut Springs series, which, if you followed me for the past year, I'm obsessed with this series, and I was so excited for this book. This book was about Beau and Bailey as the love interest, and my gosh, I was so pumped for this book. I read it on Kindle Unlimited before my copy came in the mail. It took like 2 days to come in the mail, and I was like, I can't wait 2 days. So I read the whole thing on Kindle Unlimited in like a day. I would say I don't think this is my least favorite of this series, but it's definitely not like my top 2. I loved Jasper and Theo's story so much, and this one, it just felt a little bit rushed. And even though it's a pretty thick book, I still feel like we didn't really get to see so much between Beau and Bailey and like their families. Like this series is so family oriented, and there's so many scenes with like all of the couples throughout the whole entire series, and I feel like you just didn't see as much of that in this book. So I have like small little things here and there, but overall I still loved it. It was sadly the ending of the series, but a great ending it was, and I am so excited for the next series that Elsie Silver is going to be putting out, because it's kind of like a spin-off of this series. I gave this 4 stars. Most of the books I've given 5 stars in this series, so it was a little heart-wrenching to give it a lower rating, but it just definitely was not. I didn't get that 5-star feelings, but it was pretty close. It might be even a 4.5, but even looking back now, I still think about the other books in the series more than I do this one. The next book I read was Nora Goes Off Script by, what was her name? Annabelle Monaghan, I think. And I gave this book 4 stars. This was a recommendation by my friend, and so I picked it up through the Libby app. And it is definitely like a more contemporary romance, kind of giving Emily Henry vibes. So this book is about a woman named Nora, who I believe is in her late 30s to early 40s, and she is a divorcee. And so she basically wrote a book about her relationship and the divorce, but made it like a fiction, and it ended up turning into a movie. And they are filming on site on her property. And the main character that is playing her husband is named Leo, and he is the love interest. And this book just explored a lot of great things about like dating and relationships in, you know, later on in life, and also the atmosphere and the way that this house and just everything was described. It really felt like you were there right beside them, and I loved that part about it. The relationship that Nora and Leo had was so genuine. I think all of their miscommunication, all of their problems, they were so like believable. And the third act conflict, I was like, this is like genius. When there needs to be a conflict in the book, the way that she wrote it was just so believable and so well done. I just loved it. The way I'm describing it, you would think it would be a 5-star read, but I just didn't get that like feeling that I get when I read 5-star books. But it was really, really great. I really, really would recommend it, especially if you love Emily Henry. I think you would love Nora Goes Off Script. And I think I will also read her next book that just recently came out. I think it kind of has similar themes, and I think I'll definitely pick it up. And it's very short. It was a really quick read. The next book I read was How to Keep House While Drowning by Casey Davis, and this is like a nonfiction. I read it as an audiobook, and I gave it 3 stars. So this book, it was like popped up on my Goodreads as like a new or trending this week, and I saw some reviews, and I was like, you know what, let me just read it. It was very quick. I think it was like a 3-hour audiobook. And it's just all about a new perspective to view. She calls them like house tasks or something like that. Chores, how to view the way that you pick up after yourself and the way that you take care of your home in a more, I guess, softer approach. I honestly never had an issue with picking up after myself, cleaning, organizing. I love all of that, but I'm always looking for ways to kind of see perspectives differently or get little tidbits of tips here and there. I think this book is great for a certain type of person, but I don't think it was for me. It talks a lot about also like ADHD and depression, both of things that I don't like have diagnosed, and I don't think I do have. I did find it really good in some aspects, but then a lot of it I found it just was not catered to me and my problems. So overall, I think it was a great book. I gave it personally 3 stars, but I think like the star rating could be so different based on who you are as a person and how you perceive the information that is provided in this audiobook or this book in general. Overall, it was pretty good. It was an interesting perspective, but I don't think I really took much out of the book, and I won't really take much to move on with how I take care of my house and the things that I own. The next book I read was The Mistake by Elle Kennedy. This was the second book in the Off-Campus series. I read the first one a year ago, so I was kind of rough in starting the book because I was like, what happened in the last book? Who are these characters? But overall, I gave this book 4 stars, which I'm pleasantly surprised about. I loved Logan and Grace. I think the premise of the story and their relationship was so funny, even though it was kind of like, in real life, I would be like giving the side eye to Logan, but in the book, I was living for their relationship and his pining. Really liked the way that they worked together. I think they were great together. I wish we kind of learned a little bit more about Grace, because you did definitely know more about Logan's backstory. But I mean, he is also one of the hockey players, and the whole series is about kind of like the hockey player team, so very understandable. It was super fun. It wasn't perfect by any means. I mean, I did get bored here and there throughout the book, but I think overall it was such a fun time, and I will definitely be finishing or continuing the series. The next book I read was a reread, so it'll be short and sweet, but it was Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. So I started my reread because A Curse for True Love came out this month, so I wanted to reread books 1 and 2 just to kind of reinvigorate my memory and really immerse myself in the story. So I read book 1, absolutely loved it, a 5-star read as it was the first time around. I definitely saw a lot more hints and little things pointed out that I didn't realize or notice in the first time I read it, so I really enjoyed that. I don't really reread books very much, so this kind of changed my perspective and feelings on rereading, because you really get to enjoy the story so much when you reread. And even then, like, I read this I think last year or the year before that, and there were parts of it that I forgot, so it was still kind of new and fresh, but also it wasn't super new. But yeah, absolutely adored it, loved it. I can not recommend this series more than I already do. It's definitely one of my, if not my favorite YA fantasy romance series. The next book I read is Orlando by Virginia Woolf, and I'm laughing because this was in my July TBR where I had to finish this book or I had to get rid of it, and I didn't finish it in July, but I'm like, I can't get rid of it. So I guess I kind of broke one of my rules, but I finally finished Orlando. I finally picked it up again after not reading it for months, and I have definitely mixed emotions and feelings about this book. I think I'm giving it a 3.5 stars overall, but it's basically a story about a man named Orlando who is really popular, seen as this like wonderful, handsome, amazing man, especially by Queen Elizabeth I. And he kind of goes through some moral dilemmas and changes, and then he turns into a woman, and then he lives life as a woman, and then you go through that, and it's really interesting. I feel like halfway through the book you feel like you're reading a whole different story and perspective, and I think that was written that way on purpose. But the first half, it was so beautiful. I was so entranced with Virginia Woolf's writing, and this is also my first Virginia Woolf book in general. And then I did have more of a struggle finishing the book. Like the middle part was the struggle. The beginning and the end were amazing, and the end was crazy in itself, but the middle was where I struggled. The ending was very emotional for me, and the topics that explored life and kind of your meaning in life, and oh my god. Sorry, my cat just scared me. Covering the topics of life and your meaning in life, and what it is to be a human, and what it is to live on this earth. Like, it's all so important, and just seeing and hearing another perspective is always so welcoming, and I love it. And I think with a reread I would really get to dive in more into this character and the lessons and the things that are talked about in this book. So yeah, I have mixed feelings, but overall really enjoyed it. I definitely want to pick up some more Virginia Woolf. It was challenging to read. I'm not gonna lie and say it wasn't. It was very challenging, but I think it was well worth it, and looking forward to picking up more. Alongside Orlando, afterwards, I read Kate Chopin's The Awakening, and this cover or this edition cracks me up. And I adored this. I gave this 4.5 stars. I think it was absolutely fantastic and a masterpiece. And the ending was absolutely crazy. And if you know anything, actually, I don't even want to say it, but yeah, this was crazy. And to know that this book was written in like the late 1800s I could definitely see how polarizing it was and kind of how scary it would have been for Kate Chopin to write this. It's basically about a story following a woman named Edna who kind of has an awakening and decides to leave her husband, leave her kids, and live for herself. And that right now in this day and age is a very polarizing topic. But back then, forget about it. You're not even bringing that kind of conversation to surface. So it was fantastic, and the ending was heartbreaking. And yeah, I just have a lot of emotions and reflections on this book, and it's so short but so powerful. And yeah, I absolutely loved it, and I really liked reading these two together. Both of these were for the A Game of Tomes book club for the July and August picks, I believe. I'm just late to reading them, but I think they were paired very well together. So yeah, I definitely like The Awakening more than Orlando, but I think Orlando could definitely have more of an impact if I were to reread it. The next book I read was sadly a disappointment, and that was Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this was for me. I'm giving this 2 stars. I know a lot of people love this. I didn't enjoy it. The whole story really made me sad, honestly. It really, really made me upset because this relationship was so inappropriate, and the lasting damages of this relationship on Elio were so insane. And I just don't know how this could be seen as something beautiful because it's just heartbreaking. Yeah, I just didn't enjoy it at all. Sadly, the writing, I mean, the only props I can give to this book is the writing. I think Andre Aciman's writing is superb. It's very beautiful, but I just wish the story went a different direction. Made me really, really sad. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be unhauling this book. I'm sorry to everyone that loves this book. I don't see it. That's the beauty of books. We all see them and feel differently for all of them, and some books are just meant for a certain type of person, and I just don't think this was the book for me. It was also one of my books that I wanted to read in 2023. I was so excited for it, but I'm really sad that it was a disappointment, but it is what it is. Sugar decided to eat right now. See, hi, Sugar. Usually you guys see Spice, you don't really see Sugar, so that was Sugar's cameo. Last book that I will be including in this October wrap-up is The Ballot of Never After by Stephanie Carber, which is book 2 of the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I'm saying this was the almost 13th book. I think it was 13 books or 12 books, I don't remember. Because if you see my bookmark here, I'm not finished this book. But it's November 1st when I'm filming this, and I am going to finish this book today. And this was a reread, so that's why I'm counting it. Because I am going to finally start A Curse for True Love. It's been a week since it came out, and I have it, and I haven't started it because I've been so busy that I haven't been able to finish my reread. But loving it. It's going to be a 5 stars because how could it not be? I did a lot of annotating, which is so fun because I did not annotate these books the first time. I actually read these as audiobooks the first time when I first read them, and yeah, loving the experience of the reread. Absolutely adored this story. Absolutely love Jax, as we all do. And this edition is so pretty. I have the dust jacket in my room, but yeah, that is book number 12 or 13, not sure, but I'm going to count it to October. So those were all the books that I read in the month of October. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts were on them. Let me know what you guys read in the month of October and what you're reading in the month of November. November is a crazy new release month, so I'm thinking of doing a vlog reading all the new releases that are coming out. We've got Iron Flame, we've got Mitch Albom's new book, which I love Mitch Albom. I think that book's called The Little Liar or something like that. And I think there's another book coming out that I have on pre-order. But November and also December, crazy book months, and I'm so excited. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you had a wonderful reading month, and I will see you all in the next one. Happy reading. Bye.